When it comes to skill set and attributes, what are you looking to find the most when it comes to finding your next quarterback? What's the most important there?
Well, there's a lot of factors. Certainly, when you look at position specifics, there's a certain accuracy is critical. Your judgment and decision making is critical. I think the thing that is the hardest to measure is the intangible effect you have on the offense and the team. And this is probably what makes evaluating this position so difficult, because ultimately, if you have a certain level of size, positional requirements as far as your ballistics in the ball, your accuracy, your judgment, at the end of the day, do the other 10 guys on the offense and does the rest of the team believe you're our guy? You're our guy. So when you walk in the huddle, all right, and I'll just give you an example. I've seen where the coaches all say, that's the guy. He's more talented than that guy. And then during the game, the chains really aren't moving and the points aren't scoring. And you have no choice but to put in this other guy who you think stinks, okay? And all of a sudden, the runner breaks 3 tackles and gets 30 yards. The receiver jumps up one-handed and eats peanuts off the head of the corner, and it's touchdown. And you're going, why didn't he do it for the other guy? And that's the human, intangible element that it's hard to measure. Do the other 10 guys look at him and say, that's our guy? And I think that's a challenge for any quarterback, anywhere in the country. And the guys who have that stuff and really good talent, those are the special guys. So I don't know if I answered your question, but there's size issues, there's positional criteria issues, and then there's that moxie, the effect he has on the team. I think the 2 biggest indicators of winning and losing are turnovers and big plays. Turnovers are number 1. It's interesting, I did a turnover study. In the 7 wins we had last year, forgive me if this isn't perfect, I know you're going to go check all this. I think we were +7 in our turnover ratio, and in the 6 losses we were in the 0 to negative in turnover ratio. Sums it up. So turnovers and then big plays. Big plays change field position. They change momentum. The days of the 15-play, 80-yard drive, although it still happens, it's hard. It's hard. Something breaks. So those are the 2. And in fact, I'm going to talk to the team about those 2 qualities today. Big plays on defense usually happen from either a mental breakdown or a missed tackle. And that goes back to discipline and toughness and, all that stuff. And big plays on offense generally happen on great execution of the play and some possible breakdown on defense. So trying to eliminate those pre-snap mental errors, post-snap mental errors, and being a good tackling football team hopefully will minimize big plays.
Yeah. What do you want to be offensively? What do you want to be?
Yeah, well, I want to score a lot of points and not let the other guy score much. All right, let's start with that. Now, then you go, how do we get to that? Now, what do I believe fundamentally? I believe you have to be able to run the football when you want to run the football, because I think there's times in the game to win a game, you have to be able to run it. They know you're running it, and you got to be able to punch them out a few yards. So if you believe that, then you better structure practice to where you can run the ball and stop the run, which goes back to the earlier question, our practice is going to be physical, okay? Now, I also believe that great football teams are good at everything. They don't have deficiencies. Now, it doesn't mean they're great at everything, but they don't have a huge weakness on running the ball, on your play action game, on your drop back game, on stopping the run, on defending the pass, on your coverage units, on your return units. So I think you got to be good at everything. Now, I like tight ends. In our offense, I think probably philosophically the biggest change I see is moving more toward tight ends than the fullbacks, if that makes sense. All right, but I also believe at the end of the day that the players, you better find out what players are going to win the football game for you. And when it's 3rd and 5 and you got to win the game, how are we going to get it to the good guy? And if your good guys are a great throwing quarterback and 2 big-time receivers, then you're probably going to throw it a lot more. If your 2 guys are a Heisman Trophy runner and a great second back and you got a pretty physical offensive line, then you're going to run it a little bit more. But you still got to be able to do it all. Now, I don't know if that answered your question. That's a jambalaya of stuff. It's 4 down, but again, you have to be multiple. Because what's happening in today's game, if you're good at one thing, then offenses and defenses are good enough to expose the other thing. And if you're only good at one thing on offense, defenses are good enough, they're going to take it away, so what are you going to do? Well, it's the same thing on defense, okay? You got to be multiple. You can't go out there and play one coverage, one front, couple of blitzes and expect to stop everybody. So you're going to have to find ways when teams are punching you out, you better pack it in there and stop the run and have some different things that are going to affect their run game. You're going to have to learn to play coverage and drop 8. You know, you're going to have to bring pressure. I mean, so it's multiple. You know, you got to do it all. You got to play some 3-down fronts. You got to have some junk blitzes on 3rd down. You got to be able to play man-to-man when it's 3rd and 5 or less. You got to be able to play zone when it's 3rd and long and not let them get to the sticks. So, you know, I wish there was a simple answer of what I believe. You know, what I believe is on 3rd and 5, we got to stop them. How do we do it? Well, what do they run? What's our strengths? What's their weaknesses? It's just not that simple. You know, I believe on 3rd and 12, you know, we got to have this. Well, how do we do it? Who are our people? And then it goes to what's your personnel? You know, again, like wideouts and runners, if your corners are great cover guys, you can play more man-to-man. If they're not, then even though you'd like to play man-to-man, maybe you better protect them a little bit. If there's a great receiver we're playing against and we got a bad matchup problem, we as coaches better be multiple enough in our scheme to not get exposed. So it just, there's so many little things that go into putting a team together schematically. I wish there was an answer. I don't know what the answer is, you know?
Kind of going back to what Jimmy said, I think as a coach, last thing you want to think about is selling tickets. But in this economy, and there's been some empty seats in the past couple of years, how much did that factor into your media policy, and how much to get the program out there? Much at all?
The media policy?
Yeah, just in terms of
selling tickets had no impact on the media policy. Because I feel like I said in there, that you guys are going to have access to every bit of information you need to promote our program. And if you don't, then it's probably a choice by you not to promote our program. It's not going to be from lack of information or access by us. That's how I feel.
Coach, after there were some reports in a Kansas newspaper, or 2 Kansas newspapers, after Bryce Brown's brother transferred to Kansas State, that he might be interested in following him. That things didn't go right for him here. Have you had any conversations with him? Or you?
Bryce has never come to me and indicated that. I have had conversations with Bryce. I've had many of them. And, you know, like every player, I've talked a little bit about our program and what we're going to do for the players and how we're going to support them. And I've talked to Bryce about, you know, how I think we can help him in the run game and as a runner and my experiences with runners and Jim's experience with runners. But just like I have every other player. But he's never indicated that to me. I know it was a report in the papers.
There was I know obviously.
And I can't, you know, I don't know. I can't speak for Bryce. I've met with the seniors, and I've met and we formed a peer group committee. You know, which is sort of I don't know. Everybody has kind of different names, but I think the seniors are important because it's their last go around, and I also think it's important when you have 120 people that you do have a committee of 15 or so players that have representatives from every class, and we have that too. And so I have different forums, you know, to communicate with the team and to have them communicate with me, and certainly my door is always open for individual meetings. So there's a lot of dialogue, and this is relationship building. I mean, that's what it is, you know. when you meet somebody and you start dating them a little bit, you know, you can't sell yourselves in one night. And you can't do it in a text message and an email, you know. You got to sit down and you got to share time. You got to share conversation. You got to go through some tough times. Goes back to the team building, kumbaya, right? So time will tell.
Are there any players that stood out now? Do you usually way too early?
Yeah, I think it's too early on everything. I think it's too early. I want to empower them all. I think they all should be empowered to affect others. And, you know, that word leadership is always used, but it's really going back to who's affecting others and getting them to believe in what we believe in our program. Is that it, John? Hey, thank you guys for coming.